our vision, the Commissioner touched on this before, is to serve the public by providing the best multimodal transportation system in the nation. Prior to Commissioner Shore coming in, our mission statement was probably 2 paragraphs long, and nobody knew it. But now, like you said in the video, probably 90-something% of our staff can recite exactly what this mission statement is, or this vision statement is. And I, for one, every day, he gets tired of me talking about this, but I, for one, every day, try to push us towards the multimodal component of this vision statement. And real quickly, here we have 8 goals, 8 strategic and operational goals. I don't know why I keep going in and out here, but 8 operational and strategic goals. I sort of put the top 5 up on this slide, what I consider the top 5 in my opinion. And as I go through this presentation, keep in mind the theme for the summit this year: infill, innovate, and invest. And think about how all these things, things that I'm going to talk about impact those 3 items in our theme. And also the correlation or the connection to the work that happens at ECD and the Tennessee Department of Health. But economic opportunity, obviously a key goal for us. Transportation is a very important part of that. Providing transportation options. So not just the house, but thinking about pedestrians, thinking about cyclists, thinking about transit, also thinking about freight issues, waterway, rail, all those things. We keep those options in mind. And maintaining the existing system, that is very important as well. So an emphasis on multimodal. You know, to get beyond the vision statement that we have, which again I think is a great vision statement, to get beyond that, it's going to take us putting in place policy, putting in place plans, putting in place funding to really make that vision statement a reality. And to support that, we are updating, or I should say, creating a new long-range plan in the state of Tennessee. In another 9 or 10 months or so, this plan, we'll be completing this plan. But for the first time ever, I think we're really taking a serious look, a very close look at how all these different modes, whether it be how people walk, even at 30,000 feet in our department, we're thinking about walkability issues. We're thinking about rail, how we continue to invest in rail. We're thinking about waterway investment. The previous plan did it as well, but it wasn't fiscally constrained. It didn't really think about what could really happen from a dollar sense. So we're really taking a closer look at multimodal. And I'll define multimodal. Is here. Wave your hand, Robin. She helped us with a project that we recently completed to actually define what multimodal means. And it essentially boils down to two things: connections, choices. Connections, choices. That's what multimodal means. Connecting modes and providing choices for both goods and people to be able to get around across the state. So you can tell that Commissioner Shore and I did not coordinate presentations before today, but I also have the same slide, but it looks a little different. The same slide that he showed earlier on. We did a survey, a statistically valid survey of probably roughly a little bit over 3,000 people across Tennessee. And this is one of the highlights of the survey. To me, it was just really outstanding to see this. Number 1 and number 4 is where you have consensus across the board, across the state, both from residents, partners, and the definition for partners for us were MPOs, RPOs, county and city governments across the state. That's what partners is, and elected officials. So where we have consensus on what people across the state want us to invest in over the next 25 years is in number 1. Everybody feels like maintain what you have. Do a great job of maintaining what you have, and we're already doing that. That's why we're number 2 in the country as far as transportation goes. And number 4 was the other place where you had consensus across the board. But like he pointed out early on, you notice there that there's no red box in that first column, in the residence column. And these are color coordinated, by the way. There's no red box in that first column, meaning residents are not thinking of, that's not a priority for them. That's not a focal point for them as far as why they think we should invest in the future. But notice also in this first column, number 4 and number 5, that's about multimodal. Expanding public transportation, addressing mobility needs for seniors. That's multimodal. So the usual suspects for, speaking of investment as a part of our theme again, the usual suspects for funding transportation, well, not funding transportation, but multimodal transportation at TDOT, if you're familiar with how we fund projects at TDOT, are these 5 bullet items, with the biggest pot probably being the STP program. But the STP program doesn't have dedicated funds towards multimodal investments. The remaining 4 do. The remaining 4 items, transportation alternatives, safe routes to school, congestion mitigation and air quality, also known as CMAQ, and the recreational trails program. The reason why I have this slide up here, not only just to point out that we're continuing to invest in this, I think this year in those bottom 4, we probably had roughly $30 million just in 1 year in investments in those 4 areas. But the reason why is MAP 21, our latest, or the transportation bill, like the commissioner said, that's about to run out. That latest bill gave states the flexibility to spend up to 50% of the funds that come to these different funding codes, up to 50% of it elsewhere. So you can flex it over, that's the term we use. You can spend it elsewhere. And several states have done just that. They've taken money that's supposed to be for safe routes to school or congestion mitigation, all these things, they're using it elsewhere. They're using it to expand highways or do other kinds of projects. In Tennessee, we had the same choice. We kept those programs. We kept funding multimodal projects. So to take it a step even further, thinking of innovation, the commissioner allowed us this year, with a lot of debate internally, to create a new funding source. Well, not a new funding source, but a new project, if you will, the Multimodal Access Fund. And he announced the recipients of the award last week. This was at the Bicentennial Mall. That's the mayor of Clarksville getting an $800,000 check for a roadway project in her community that's going to increase access for pedestrians and cyclists and transit users as well. Why did we come up with this program? So over a 5-year period, between 2008 and 2012, there were $82 million worth of safe routes to school and transportation enhancement requests that TDOT we couldn't fund. Either for reason because there was a lack of funding or a lack of dollars, or the project may have been just a poor project, but $82 million. So we know there's a built-up demand out there. Over a 5-year period, $82 million. So we recognize the need to address those gaps across the state, and the commissioner, again, agreed to allow us to spend $30 million specifically in this new project here, $30 million over the next 3 years to enhance that, to fill those gaps across the state of Tennessee. So it's a big deal. We're probably one of only a few states in the country that have set up a specific project like this. So again, thinking of innovation, what is one of the things that we have decided to delve into a little bit more this year is land use related issues. When you think about the connections between land use and transportation, most state DOTs really don't get into this issue, into the land use issue, and rightfully so, because most of the times, most states at least, I'd say at least 48 or out of the 50 states, most of them, they give clear autonomy to land use issues to local government. Clearly, there's no debate there. But we recognize the fact that if we continue to build in a conventional way across the state of Tennessee, and the planners in the room have seen this slide like 1,000,000 times across the country, but if we continue to build in this way, the transportation system, the network that we're in charge of, that main drag, that arterial at the bottom, will continue to be congested. We'll continue to have major problems. And we're saying we want to be at the table as land use decisions are being made across the state. And so when you think about the slides that Joe Minikazi had before, when Hickory Hollow Mall was being developed in the late 70s, this is probably one of the things that they really didn't think much about. But they built the commercial center there, and it's been repurposed, by the way. It's gone through a lot of struggles over the last couple of years. But when it was developed in the 70s, you see the huge parking space around it. And when development started to happen all around it, it was just like the slide that I showed before. You see the mall, you see apartments all bundled up in silos, no connected streets. Every time you want to get from the mall to school or from housing to the mall, you got to get on the main road. Same exact thing here. Same exact situation in Southeast Davidson County. Cul-de-sac lots all surrounding the mall, lack of connectivity. What happens? Bell Road, I-24 in that particular area. I used to live right in that area, congested all the time. And again, that's what happens when poor land use decisions get made. So we've created an office called the OCT. We love acronyms in government. Office of Community Transportation. Main responsibility is to coordinate transportation planning and land use decisions to guide the development of a safe and efficient transportation system. Again, state DOTs don't do this. I probably know maybe 2 or 3 state DOTs across the country that have hired planners that understand the connection between land use and transportation and brought them on board and to work on an issue like this. So again, pushing innovation within the department. EPD, the commissioner touched on this already, and you may have seen this slide several times before. That yellow road is an existing road. A and B were the alternatives that were studied during the planning phase and the environmental phase of this particular project. The recommended funding for this project was almost $76 million. $76 million to basically straighten out that yellow road. Lots of blind curves, hills, sight, vision issues as you drive across it. So 2 options, each of them roughly $75 million. We went through the EPD process. Staff went out in the field with local partners, went in the field, did the analysis and said, we could make improvements happen on this roadway at roughly $622,000. Now, somebody would probably get upset in the community out there and say, why? We had $76 million coming into our community. You're taking it away to do a $600,000 improvement? But here's part of the argument. Guess how many cars are on the road every day? Average. How many cars are on the road every day? Just guess. You see the number up there. 850. 850 cars, and we're going to spend $76 million? No way. No way. So again, the purpose of the EPD program, thinking about infill. Again, part of the theme for today, infill. Now, when you think of infill, you probably don't think about linear transportation, but again, when the term infill to me essentially means making better use of existing resources, utilizing existing resources better. So we got an existing resource here, got an existing road, utilize it better. Don't go out and build a $76 million road for 850 cars a day. Again, what happens on the EPD, I'm not going to go through this, but we look at safety, we look at multimodal connections, geometric deficiencies, all these things we go back and look at in existing on the projects that we're taking another look at in the EPD program. So we approach it with no preconceived solutions in mind, no preconceived solutions about what's actually needed, and we partner with local stakeholders to actually make it happen. So again, multimodal investments, what does it mean? It means more connections, it means more choices. That's what it means. And we clearly know what happens when we do this. The economic activity that's generated, we understand what kind of impact it has on our tax base, the opportunities for private investment when we go into communities and do programs like the program that Ted runs at ECD, the Main Street program. When we do those kinds of investments, we understand what that means on the private side as well. They want to come in and invest as well. Ensuring effective use of infrastructure and government funding. Again, thinking about smarter investments. So, what we ultimately want to do, as we continue to make multimodal investments is create communities like Commissioner Dreisner said, create communities that keep people in Tennessee, attract a great workforce, and support the lifestyle of Tennesseans that are already here. Keep Tennessean residents as healthy as possible, and reduce obesity, asthma, and diabetes. And when we make these investments like this, we know that we're going to be making our roads and our transportation system safer for all users. It's not just about one particular mode over the other, but when we think from a multimodal sense about the different choices and the different options, we know we're going to make our transportation system safer. So last slide here. A lot of times, when I get to travel the state and talk in different communities, a lot of people, there's a perception that the issues that we're talking about here today really are more issues that are focused in the urban parts, in the urban parts of the states, of the state, and that they're not issues that suburban or more rural communities have any interest in. And Commissioner Dreisner had several slides up. There were not, well, at least one of them, Kingsport, that was not what you would consider the a typical urban part of the state. And so one of the things that we've clearly wanted to highlight is the fact that, no, it's not just an urban issue. Communities across the state are continuing to push for these types of investments, multimodal investments across the state. One more quick announcement, one more quick thing rather before I sit down. Bridget will kill me if I don't do this. I promise that I will announce this. In the fall of this year, we're going to do something else innovative. We're going to have what we're calling community planning grants that we're going to announce. We will fund planning grants or planning projects with a range of probably $100,000 to $250,000. Again, a lot of this is still under development, but I've shared a dirty secret with Bridget, and she was relentless about me announcing this. But $100,000 to $250,000 we're going to spend on planning opportunities for communities that don't have the resources already. So, what does that mean? It means a bicycle and pedestrian plan. It means plans to look at things like road diets. And why is this important? When we made the $30 million investment for the multimodal grants that the commissioner announced last week, one of the things that we noticed during the application process was that a lot of communities, there's a want, there's a need, there's an interest.